In this segment, we will be looking at the ideological origins of the American Revolution and the way that the ideas of John Locke and Thomas Paine found their way into the Declaration of Independence. The question to keep in mind is exactly that. How did the ideas of John Locke and Thomas Paine influence Jefferson and his writing of the Declaration of Independence? The times were changing back in the day. We found new political ideas about the relationship between people and their government that are going to help justify the writing of the Declaration of Independence. This revolutionary generation is going to formulate the new political philosophy that's going to lay the institutional foundation for the system of government under which we live today. The American Revolution is going to inspire by ideas concerning natural rights, political authority, and our successful completion is going to affect the people and governments throughout the world for many generations. The Enlightenment period and John Locke. This period, known as Enlightenment in Europe during the 17th and 18th centuries, saw the development of new ideas of the relationship between the people, their government, and the people's rights. John Locke was an Enlightenment philosopher whose ideas, more than any others, influenced the American belief in self-government. John Locke wrote that all people are free, equal, and have natural rights of life, liberty, and property that rulers must protect and cannot take away. All original power resides in the people, and they consent to enter into a social contract among themselves to form a government to protect their rights. In return, the people promise to obey the laws and rules established by their government, establishing a system of what we call ordered liberty. Now, the government's powers are going to be limited to those only that the people have consented or given it the power to do. John Locke also wrote that if the government fails and becomes a threat to the people's natural rights, it breaks the social contract. And at that point, people have the right to change it or overthrow it. Locke's ideas about sovereignty and the rights of people were radical. They challenged the centuries-old practice throughout the world of having dictator-type rulers by kings or emperors or even tribal chieftains. But he wasn't the only one. Thomas Paine also lent a strong hand into the writing of our Declaration of Independence. Thomas Paine was an English immigrant to America who produced a pamphlet that was called Common Sense. The advantage of writing a pamphlet, it was small, could be read quickly, and exchanged by hand time and time again. Thomas Paine and his contributions led to this growing sentiment for independence from England, as Thomas Paine pointed out that it was only common sense for any colonist to want to separate from England after so many abuses. Thomas Jefferson brought this all in. Thomas Jefferson had read John Locke. He had read Thomas Paine and was inspired as he sat down with several other men to pen out our Declaration of Independence. He reflected heavily on those ideas, and we see them throughout the document. Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence became the foundation of American thought and the basis of what most Americans believe even today. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That when any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government." Later in the document, Thomas Jefferson went on to list the grievances against the King of England as already outlined by Thomas Paine. We can see the influence of John Locke. We can see the influence of Thomas Paine. And these ideas are going to help set the foundation. The ideas of enlightenment, that perceived unfairness, and we'll talk about what perceived means in our next sections. The perceived unfairness of the British policies provoked debate in the colonies. It provoked resistance in the colonies. And eventually, we will take up arms. Whereas you can see on this image, Boston felt that it was being chained up, prisoned by mother country England. We are about to break free.